This is the weather forecast video for Wednesday, December 28th, 2011. Let's take a look at the satellite image from last evening. See a storm system moving off the east coast, producing some rain and snow there. Disturbance moving through the middle part of the country, producing little more than a few clouds, with a bigger storm over the Pacific Northwest. The watch warning map from just before midnight, some winter weather advisories over the Great Lakes, the eastern Great Lakes, and over the northern Rockies, with some high wind watches and warnings also in effect in Montana down into Wyoming. QPF chart, precipitation over the next 5 days through Sunday evening at 6 o'clock shows some heavy amounts of rain and mountain snow over the Pacific Northwest, with moderate amounts of precipitation from here eastward into the New England states. Let's take a look at the 0Z GFS Model Run at 6 p.m. this evening. You can see we have a west to west-northwesterly flow aloft with a pretty zonal flow across the country, but with that, the precipitation is in the west and in the east, with little, if anything, in the middle part of the country, so the weather will remain quiet for now. Heading into Thursday, tomorrow, have some snow over the lakes, maybe some rain-snow mix moving into the state Thursday night into Friday, with the rain continuing over the west. This continues again into Friday with some rain and mountain snow over the Pacific Northwest and the lake effect over the lakes into New England. We head into Saturday. Here comes a storm system that looks to be bringing some cold air into the state, but unfortunately it's not bringing anything more than just cold air. And by Sunday, that storm is now off to the east. The low pressure is well up into Quebec, and that's where all the snow will be, with the cold air and high pressure coming in from Canada. Now here's the same time frame. This is Sunday evening. This is from the Canadian GEM model, showing pretty much the same story, northerly winds coming out of Canada. And here's the European model at the same time frame, showing the cold air coming in. So it looks like colder air is going to come in for the first of the year, and that's a change from earlier. Back to the GFS, here's Monday. There's a very substantial high just north of Winnipeg, and the cold air coming down, with lake effect snow possible over the Great Lakes. Back to the Canadian GEM model at the same time frame, a 1042 millibar high over Manitoba, edging into the Dakotas, with maybe some flurry activity according to this model. And here back on the European for Monday evening, a 1044 millibar high near Winnipeg. So all three of these models are in agreement that it's going to get drastically colder to begin 2012. Back to the GFS, here's Tuesday. You can see that high pressure has now moved off into southern Illinois, just west of Evansville, Indiana. The southwesterly winds begin to take over, and by a week from today, January the 4th, you can see a ridge begins to develop over the desert southwest, with a trough, pretty substantial trough, over the eastern Great Lakes into New England. And with that, looks like it's not going to stay cold long. As the warm air starts to infiltrate the area, we can see highs back closing in on 40 degrees, given the lack of any snow cover. We head further into the month. Here's January the 8th. The ridge is still in effect over the desert southwest, but it's a little bit knocked down by a disturbance over the south and west, and right then there could be some mountain snow down there, but most of the moisture looks to be right along the U.S.-Canadian border and down along the Gulf Coast, so our drought of precipitation continues. We head to the end of the forecast run on the 12th, and here's a bit of a disturbance coming through the area with a fairly substantial trough across the middle part of the country. With that, that could bring some snow. But it seems like we've seen this before. Snow well out in the future on these model runs, and then it disappears. We'll see if this happens again in future runs. Thank you for tuning in to the weather forecast video. We'll have another one tomorrow.